Hello and welcome to TidyX episode 76. TidyX is a screencast where we go through and explain how our code works. My name is Ellis Hughes. You can find me on Twitter at Ellis_Hughes.
And my name is Patrick Ward. You can find me on Twitter at OSPPatrick, and you can find the screencast on Twitter at tidy_explained, or you can drop us an email, tidy.explained@gmail.com. You can go on YouTube. We appreciate it if you go on, you like, subscribe, leave comments and questions, or you can open an issue on the GitHub repo, which is what someone did this previous week.
Exactly. And please, as a reminder, do like and subscribe. That is how we know we're doing a great job and that you're liking what we're doing. So here, I will share the screen so Patrick can see what we're talking about here. But yeah, so we had somebody drop us an issue on our GitHub repo, which is github.com/thebioengineer/tidyx. And they apparently were watching our videos over the last several weeks, and they asked a very interesting question about what we did, 2 weeks ago now? Episode 75.
We took a week off.
We're sorry about that. We needed a Momo. But yeah, so they brought up a scenario, which is totally not unreasonable, where you have a Shiny app running. And the way we set it up, there's a potential collision that could occur, where two coaches start up the Shiny app and are both looking at it on their machines and start making comments. But when they click commit, the way that we wrote the code, it would overwrite anything that was already in the database. And so Coach 1 couldn't see what Coach 2 was seeing, or it would overwrite them depending on the order in which they committed things, which obviously not a good thing.
That's a problem.
I think they'd get mad at us if we were to put this into prod.
Especially if they typed a lot.
Yeah.
And then it got dumped.
So what we're going to do this week is address this, at least in a very light way. A simple way.
Yeah.
So, but
we probably should review the episode 75 so people remember what it looks like. And there it is.
And this is what it is. So this is a Shiny app that we built to show us how to interact with Shiny in SQLite database. Coach can go through and say you're in the playoffs and you're going to be playing the winner, or you're going to be playing one of these teams here.
Yep.
And they can go through and look through the different games. And you can, let me drag that off to the left here. You can actually see some past comments from episode 75 here. So our database is still working. But yeah, so basically it goes through and it makes it so that they can write comments and go, oh, this is a great play, and show that they're happy. And then they click save and it'll save their comments to the database. And then another time when another coach comes by, they can spin it up. And it would, if the prior coach had clicked submit or save the comments, they would see all these comments as well, and then they could go on their merry way, enter their favorite comments, edit any existing comments that exist, and go on, and then they could go and share information, which is great and dandy and fun. But as was brought up, what if two coaches open up the Shiny app at the same time? And that would create a scenario where they could potentially overwrite each other.
Yep.
That's not great.
No.
So
that's a problem.
We will go over a way that we at least attempted to solve most of the problems that exist.
It's messy. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here.
Yes, exactly. Obviously, this is not super simple here, but hopefully we can take you through this. So, all right, this is episode 76. We're basing this off of 75. So we're loading up the same packages that we're needing. So tidyverse, rvest, janitor, everything like that. We wrote this is just our database path. Nothing too special about that. This is the function that we wrote to pull all the game level information, which is basically identical to last episode as well, pulling in all the data for us. So we're going to kind of skip over that. That's not super important for this episode. And then this is the connections for the setup of the Shiny app. We kept the UI the same because we didn't think that the UI needed to change, because really what we care about, what we need to make sure is updating is the back end. It's the stuff behind the scenes that's going on to make sure that they don't accidentally override each other. And what we came up with is something that we actually explored several weeks before, reactive polling. Patrick, do you want to explain what that one is?
Yeah, we actually used reactive polling, I think, in episode 73, which was what the individual who took the issue out was asking about, was saying similar to episode 73. We used reactive polling to create within our server a way for the server the Shiny app to continually look at the database and see if any new information was there. And then if new information was there, to go ahead and pull that information in so that it was visual to the user. So in that example, I think in episode 73, what we did was we had like 7 or 8 data tables available in our database. We went out, the user is using this, the Shiny app. We went out, we scraped 2 or 3 more years of data or games or whatever it was. I can't recall now. And then those get deposited in the database, and all of a sudden the user can see, hey, there's a few new games or new pieces of information. So reactive polling is a way to get the Shiny app to basically look to see if anything's new and then say, hey, there's some new stuff here, make some additions so that the user can play with it and see it and interact with it. And so here you have it set to the interval to milliseconds. So this is going to be every 5 seconds. Mm-hmm. The Shiny server is going to take a peek at the database and see if anything's new there. So in this case, what's going to be new is the coach is actually commenting themselves and then going through and clicking that little click save button that was in the bottom left. And that populates that column in the database. And then every 5 seconds, the server is saying, oh, there's a new comment, pull that in so that coach number 2 sees it. Right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And yeah, we did, there was a slight update now to the database itself too. So let's talk through this logic, which is it'll connect to the database, and then as soon as this function is done running, it'll disconnect from it so we don't have floating connections everywhere here. And then we have this db get query here. This was just to protect from it trying to connect to the database before it had the game selection, this if statement here. But this db get query, so it's going to reach out to the table game comments update time. So now there's a table that exists in the database that records the time that comments got updated. And so whenever they click that button saying save my comment, it'll update this table with the time that they saved it. They saved their comments at. And so this is a cheap way that we're using to pull the database and go, all right, when did this table update? And it'll just automatically update that whenever it'll find the update.
Yeah, because if you don't have that, because if you don't have that and you were to run the server, it just bombs out. The Shiny app will flash on and then it'll flash off because it doesn't have a game ID for the user to get started with. Because remember, the Shiny app is beginning unpopulated. The person has to select a game ID in order to get things going. So yeah.
Cool. All right, so this tells the reactive polling, all right, there has been a change now. Somebody made a comment and committed it to our database. So now it's going to be running the value func. So the function that generates the value, so the actual output of the database. So now it's going to connect again to the database and then simply return the game comments table that exists in the database. So this is similar to what we were doing before when it was pulling in the comments when the Shiny app started up. So all right, so now it's going to return that as comments updated as a reactive that looks for that. And so now it's going to float around in our Shiny app until, relatively speaking, and then we have this observe event. So this observe event is then triggered when it sees changes to comments updated. So this is, we ran our reactive poll, it saw that the database updated the comments, it then pulls the comments, and then this observe event sees, hey, there's updated comments. I'm going to now run this next set of code. And this next set of code is what's doing the updating in the background.
And don't forget
the UI.
Don't forget with the observe event, you have comments updated, and then you need the parentheses because it's a reactive data frame. It's getting information in and out, and so your Shiny app will fail if you don't give it those parentheses. It's not a static data frame.
Exactly. Alrighty. So now we're going to get into this train of logic, which I'm not going to argue is the best chain of logic, but it is something that will hopefully explain or help you get to where you're trying to go. And then maybe you can think about this a little more. But we felt as though this actually worked pretty well for us in our testing. So we'll go through this. So first, we want to check to make sure. So it may have seen that there were updates to the comments, but that doesn't mean the updates are all new. So we want to identify what are the comments that are brand new that don't exist in my current session. So right now we're creating a scenario where there's two coaches both editing and committing to the database their comments there. And we want to know that, or we only want to go through the process of updating if comments are new or comments have changed. And so we can do this with an anti-join. An anti-join is a join that will compare two data frames, and you can specify the number of, or which columns you want to be comparing against. In any cases that are different between the comments updated and the displayed comments in this scenario here, if there's any changes in any of the column names, it'll go, okay, there's a change, and save that as in diff comments. And we later on will use just a single column. So actually so diff comments is a data frame with the set of comments that exist that don't exist currently or are different from what's currently displayed.
What's being seen, yeah.
Like I said, it's very circular logic around this, so I'm sorry if this isn't. I got confused working on this.
It does make sense, right? Because in theory, right, the anti-join, this will feed the next step, because if there is nothing new, if what's being displayed and what's in the comments updated is exactly the same, the anti-join returns an empty data frame, which means that it has n rows of 0.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's going, that's the step that allows this whole thing, the cascade, to kick off, because it's basically saying, hey, if there's anything more than 0 rows, it means that something must have changed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right, so now we're going to run another anti-join, and this is going to tell us what are the new comments. So what are comments that coach number 1 made that coach number 2 hasn't made yet or seen yet, or anything in there. And so we're going to do an anti-join with these comments updated and the displayed comments by play ID number. So this is going to then, if there's a play ID that exists in comments updated that does not exist in the current displayed comments, those are going to be then set to new comments, an object called new comments. But then we have a case where maybe coach A and coach B commented on the same play. How do you handle that? It's conflicting comments. Mm-hmm. And so this is, we're going to do an inner join. So an inner join is, are there any cases where there's comments that exist in diff comments, which is a set of comments that are new, with displayed comments, and join by play number or play ID number. So this is, once again, two coaches commented on the same play. Let's join that together and this will create a data frame with 3 columns, which is play ID num, comments.x, and comments.y. Comments.x are the comments from coach A that just committed their comments, and then comment.y is coach B comments, coach B's comments. There we go. I can correct. And those have not been committed yet. And now they're conflicting. So what this line of code is saying, all right, so seek len n row conflicting comments. So for every conflicting comment, create a vector of 1 through number of conflicting comments, pull out the database comment. So this is the one that's in the database, the local comment, which is the comment that Coach B has, and then let's concatenate them together. Let's put them together with a BR. So BR in HTML is break, and if you because we're working in Shiny, we want to display these as BR, so to show the difference between the original database comment and the person that's writing their new comment. Yeah. So it'll just pop up above their comment there.
So yeah, it'll create an extra line, a new line. If you didn't want an extra line and you wanted commas or semicolons or something like that, you could do a paste and separated by a semicolon. Yeah, you could kind of do whatever you want, really. Doesn't matter, but
whatever makes you happy, that helps discern that these are two different comments.
Yeah.
And then we're going to bind these quickly together into what we're calling updated comments. It's probably not strictly necessary, but we did that. And then we're going to update displayed data comments, which is the data frame of all the comments that exist locally. And we want to update that to have the original set of comments, so the comments that aren't changing at all, which we're capturing with anti-join, and then the updated comments. So the updated comments are any plays that have new or any new comments or any comments that we just solved with conflicting, and update that. This is the bit of logic that we talked about last week that then merges all these comments onto the play-by-play information and updates the data table. So let's run this and see what we can do here. Actually, yeah, so let's run that. So you'll probably see that there is some testing that we had here. So let's go to another game so you don't see our garbage. And then in order to simulate two people accessing it, I've got another R session going on over here that I'm going to also simply connect to the database as well. So now we've got let's open up game number 2. So now we've got two different coaches, both looking at East first round game 2. All right. So as you can see, there's no comments that exist, but say this is, so actually let's have this left-hand side be Coach A, and this right-hand side be Coach B. So Coach A goes in, goes, great play. Wow, what a athleticism. Exclamation, like they are stoked about this. And they're like, I need to get that out. I click submit. So they've now saved that to the database. If you come over here, Coach B now sees that. It now exists in their stuff. That they don't have to go and comment on this play because it's saved now. It's shared. Super exciting. But now what about a scenario where both coaches, great play. So now Coach 2 is now looking at play 2. He sees that play 1 was commented on. They're also like, great play, interesting dribble. Maybe we use this. At the same time, Coach A is also commenting on this, going, meh, I've seen better plays here. I don't know. Who knows? But as you can see, neither of them have actually committed their changes yet. So now there's a potential weird world where they both could be making comments.
Yeah, and in the previous one, they would override each other.
They would override each other. In this scenario, let's have Coach A. So Coach A is quicker to the draw. They click to save their comments. Hey, would you look at that? It's now added Coach A's comments in here, and that's because we had that paste with the BR. Mm-hmm. So here's Coach B or Coach A, and here's Coach B's comments here.
Now you've created a situation where Coach A, the more senior coach, didn't think this was a good play, and Coach B hasn't committed his enthusiasm yet. But then he sees that Coach A didn't like it, so he could go in and, before committing his changes, say, "Yeah, you're right. This wasn't that great of a play. You've biased Coach B."
Yes. So
Which is fine. So, oh, you're right.
yeah.
And then he saves it.
Save the comment. And so this, like we said, this isn't perfect because you can see here now it's kind of tacking on to itself. So there's some bugs to be worked out. But this would be a way. This is how they can chat back and forth, is using that database as the reference, and they just comment back and forth on this, and this is how they can work on things, or they just wait to make sure they coordinate to make sure that. So here's a scenario where this person is now commented on 5. Coach A commented on 3. The comments on 5 are still there. They haven't committed any of their changes yet, but the Coach A's comments are now on play 3.
Because after 5 seconds, the reactive poll searched for the database and found new comments that were added.
Yep, exactly.
The data.
So now they can save those comments there, and in a couple seconds,
there it is.
That. Now Coach B's comments are appearing on Coach A. So hey, ping pong back and forth. This is how you could do it. Like I said, this is not perfect. As you can see here, it's kind of growing a little bit.
Amazing.
That was an unforeseen bug.
Yeah, that's weird.
But, this is just a fun little way that you could add some reactive polling and dynamicism. Communicating back and forth using databases. I don't know. Words, English. It's hard. It's been a long week. But thank you all so much for joining us for another week on Databases Shiny, working through this all. If you like this video, please subscribe, press like so that we know we're doing a good job. Leave a comment. And as always, my name is Ellis Hughes. You can find me on Twitter at Ellis_Hughes.
And my name is Patrick Ward. You can find me on Twitter at OSPPatrick. Tidy Explained, Tidy_Explained, at Tidy_Explained, or email us tidy.explained@gmail.com, or as Ellis said, hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube and leave a comment or a question. And that is Databases in R.
Yeah, thank you all so much, and keep on exploring your world.